Hello everyone, my name is Amy, this is the Opinionated Woman, and welcome back to Crafty Reads. I know it's been like a minute, it's been like a second since I filmed my last one, but I have been picking up books really quickly recently, so I have yet another 5 to talk to you about. So let's get into it. As you know, if you follow this, in the last Crafty Reads, I actually ended up finishing a piece. So in this one, I'm going to start something new. So I kind of know what I'm going for. So I'm going to be making the base layer in this video today. So I've taken different swatches of white. See, that's like cool textures. I've got a bunch of those actually, like papery kind of textures. And then that's going to be the base for it. And then yeah, I'm just going to talk to you about 5 good books. And a cup of coffee. Alright, now we are starting this video off swinging, let me tell you, because this is the best book that I've read in 2022 so far, and that's Monday's Not Coming by Tiffany D. Jackson. And I know this book has been out for years, but it's the first time that I've got to it, and holy fucking shit, this book is so intense. So we're following our main character, Claudia, and Claudia has a best friend called Monday, and every year she goes away, Claudia goes away to her grandmother's for the summer holidays. She doesn't see Monday, and then she sees her when she gets back from school, or gets back to school, and she goes to school one day and Monday is not there, and she's talking to people about it. People don't seem to be noticing, people don't seem to be giving too much of a shit. Claudia and Monday are very isolated in their friendship. They are kind of friends with only each other. They're very lonely little girls. They do come from 2 very different backgrounds. Monday does not let Claudia come around to her house, which Claudia, because she's a child, they're like 13. Claudia doesn't notice these kinds of things, you know. She doesn't wonder why Monday doesn't let her into her home, why she doesn't talk about certain things, why Monday disappears for a while and comes back wearing the same clothes. You know, there's a bunch of stuff that to an adult would be major red flags, but Claudia is a child, she doesn't get them. And we're going through this battle, and it is so heartbreaking because Claudia is missing her friend so badly, and nobody seems to be listening to her. And we're getting the story told in a non-linear way. Where we'll get narratives that are 2 years before she disappeared, a year before she disappeared, just before she disappeared, just after she disappeared. So we're sort of putting pieces together out of order. And Tiffany D. Jackson writes it in such an artful way. Like, I think I just keep on using the word artful to describe her writing, because it's just, the way she puts it together is so clever. And your heart just breaks for this girl. Like, you just want people to listen to her, and you're like, please, somebody help her. She's desperately asking for help, and she needs someone, and no one's listening. And this book made me cry on multiple occasions, because by the end you find out some stuff, and it was so hardcore. I cried in the car, I cried at home. I cried a couple of different occasions for this book. So trigger warning for child abuse, for sexual assault. What else is in here? It's just very heavy. If you're not feeling in a good place, don't read it, because the last quarter is really heavy, and I can't tell you why, because it would be a massive spoiler, and I really, really want anyone who can to pick up this book, because it is utterly incredible. And Tiffany D. Jackson at this point in my reading can do no wrong. She's just magnificent. So I can't wait to pick up, I think I'll pick up White Smoke by her next, because apparently it's kind of like a horror thriller. It sounds really good. But I could talk about Monday's Not Coming for a long time, so better move on to another one before I carry on. So the next one I picked up was a nonfiction. Yeah, I've been reading a lot of nonfictions recently. I think it's because I'm getting down to the wire. I'm getting right down to the end of my physical TBR. And because non-fictions are harder on my brain, I leave them till last. So that is why I picked up Down Under by Bill Bryson. Now I must admit, I am a little bit biased against Australia in this aspect. That's not an insult to any of you who are from Australia. I'm sure your country is incredible. But in South Africa, there is like a stereotype of people who will move to Australia because I can't deal with the crime. I can't deal with the crime in South Africa. What they mean is basically they want to move to a place that is very similar to South Africa, because it is, in climates and stuff like that, but with less people of color. So I was kind of biased against it. But I love Bill Bryson's writing. I think he makes travel writing very accessible. And he talks about it very anecdotally. So like you follow him on his different trips to Australia and the different people that he meets there, and all of the variety of different places. Like Australia is a wild place, like everybody knows that. But the different climates that you can get within one country is also pretty incredible. I mean, very, very similar to South Africa in that way, but they obviously have some amazing wildlife. They've got a really hectic history, and I think that is one area where this book does fall down, is that he doesn't really talk. He mentions Aboriginal people and Aboriginal monuments and writes like offhandedly. This was published in 2000, just to give you a perspective. And I really wish he'd gone more into it, because he talked a lot about the white people who came in and colonized Australia, but not a lot about the people who were there to begin with, which is like very, very similar to Africa as well. So I wish he'd gone more into that. And again, there are like a couple of jokes in there that I'm like, holy hell, is like, I can tell this is 2000, because I was like, ick, dude, like ick. I don't think it would be in a book that he wrote today, and it didn't spoil my enjoyment of it, but I was just like, really, you know, like, I think a lot of the fact that I also read from so few, like, straight men, that sometimes I get a comment that I don't expect. But yeah, overall, it was a really compelling read. It kept me going, and it was really fucking interesting. I feel like I know a little bit more about Australia now. And then I started my South African reading vlog, which I was so excited to finally film. I have been trying to start this for a long time, but I really wanted a good lot of resources before I started, like a good like range of different voices that I could read from. So this year I really made that like an important thing for me. And the first book that I read was Dreaming in Colour by Ubile Ximba. I'm sorry for the click. I just always have to apologize for the click. So Dreaming in Colour is a lesbian South African story. It follows our main character Langa and her girlfriend Kwezi. And I think they go to Rhodes. They use they call it play. So there's students at a university in Makanda. I'm not sure if that's a made-up place. I've never heard of it before, but that's neither here or there. Basically, Kwezi and Langa are in a relationship. They live together and everything. Langa is out, and her family knows and everything, and she's pretty much accepted by everyone. And Kwezi is closeted, and there's a lot about coming out, about being true to yourself, about parental pressures, societal pressures, things like that. They have a really horrible encounter with a friend of theirs that's really homophobic towards their friends, and it's really hurtful to hear, because I can imagine, like when I hear someone that I care about, it doesn't happen very often to me, saying something homophobic, even if it's like by accident. Which it wasn't in this guy's case, but it's a hard thing. It's a hard thing to hear, and it's a constant battle between Kwezi and Langa. You know, that Langa just wants to live her life. She wants to live her life fettered. She doesn't want to be closeted. She doesn't want to carry on living this way, but she loves Kwezi so much, and Kwezi has been a part of her life for so long that it's really scary for her to think about that. But she also wants to support Kwezi, because like being closeted, not being able to come out to your family because of the repercussions that could happen is fucking terrifying. It's something that I've never had to go through, and I'm so privileged. And she just, Imba just manages to like delve into that in a really delicate way, and it gets you riled up, you know, it gets you het up when she's mad, and it just gives you an emotional connection. I felt an emotional connection to this book, and I found that it was just a really good coming of age queer story, and it just so happened to be from a young South African author. I mean, I couldn't ask for more. Then I picked up another audiobook. Now, I've heard a lot about Bunny by Mona Awad, like especially from like Gabby Reads and Books of Lala, like they talk about it a lot. So I was really curious to read it, but unfortunately it's not really available to me at the moment. So I picked up All's Well by Mona Awad instead. And I can tell why this one is not getting the reviews that her previous one did. Not that I've read, obviously I haven't read Bunny, but this book follows Miranda, who is a college lecturer, Shakespeare lecturer, and she's in charge of the Shakespeare play every year. She has some kind of chronic pain and some kind of injury that happened when she fell off a stage when she was performing when she was younger, and this pain like leaves her pretty much disabled. You know, she struggles with mobility, and a lot of people don't take her pain seriously, which is very scary, and unfortunately very true. Like a lot of people experience that in like all kinds of different medical systems, where people just won't believe a pain that they can't see, which fucking blows. But anyway, so she's also addicted to pain pills. So she's very much a stereotypically unreliable narrator. Always has a pocket of pills, like a bottle of pills in her pocket at all times, and we can't rely on a lot of things. She talks to herself all the time, in front of people. People will be like, sorry, and then she doesn't realize that she's spoken, and then shit starts to get real weird, dude. That's all I can really say. I can't tell you what happens because it's such a major plot point that it would be a big spoiler, because it does happen quite early on in the narrative, and things change drastically from this one twist. But I don't know if I completely understood what the fuck was cracking. Like, there were these instances that are written in a very abstract manner, and there's these three men that are significant in this big event that happens, and I'm so confused as to who they are and what they did. And like, it was weird in a way that like I can deal with a story that doesn't answer all the questions, you know, like leave an open-ended story, like I can get on board with that. But this, I just don't think I got what was going on. It was so strange, and it ended in the weirdest way, and I'm not sure what was real and what wasn't, and I think that's probably what you're supposed to take away from this, I guess. But personally, I kind of wish it was executed in a different manner, I suppose. But if I do manage to get hold of Bunny, I will definitely give that a go, because I like the weird writing. I just wanted a tiny bit more explanation. And then the final book for this Crafty Reads was also for my South African reading vlog. I don't know if this is going to prop up on this little mug. And that's Midwinter by Fiona Melrose. I've read Fiona Melrose's previous book. Well, actually, it came before this. It came after this one, but it's the one that I managed to get hold of first, and that was Johannesburg. That would have been great to read for my South African reading vlog, but unfortunately, I didn't know the South African reading vlog was going to happen when I started reading it. So Midwinter is her debut novel, and it follows two men in Suffolk, a father and son landed in Vale, and they're farmers, and it goes backwards and forwards between the father and son, and it has a lot to do with the murder of Landon's wife, so Vale's mother. And the relationship between this father and son is really tenuous. There is so much anger and unsaid things between these two men, but they just don't know how to communicate. They're like the type of men that I'm like, therapy! You need therapy! Like, so bad. And I think a lot of the animosity and stuff is brought on because of the dramatic death of Landon's wife, Vale's mother, in Zambia when they used to go farm there. My mother's from Zambia, so I was very interested. There's a lot of people who have Zambian heritage that are from South Africa, so I'm wondering if Fiona Melrose has that connection. But either way, South African author. And yeah, the wife gets murdered while they're in Zambia, which is not a spoiler, it's from the very beginning. And I think this book looks a lot at grief and how grief can affect your body, and how it can affect different people in different ways, and how we process that, and the way that they process that purely through anger and shoving it down, just shoving all those and topping it off with alcohol, you know. So it really has a beautiful way of talking about grief and familial love, and just fucking talk to each other. Like, that's one of the main things. I'm just like, just if you have an issue with somebody, freaking just talk it out. Don't have an explosive, dramatic fight. Just talk this shit out. Don't let things fester, because you never know what's going to happen. But yeah, I thought it was beautifully written, and she has a way of writing dialogue that is very. She puts a line on each, a line of dialogue on each like line. They like space it out, and it just reads like a conversation, like very quickly, and I really loved the way she did that. And with that, I'm done with the base of my next piece. As you can see, lots of cool texture going on there. I'm planning on using tape as well, so I want to work on top of the white, and then I want to tape off some pieces. I have a vision, a blurry vision, but I have a vision. Anyway, if you did enjoy this Crafty Reads, please let me know by giving me a like and maybe even a comment, and tickling my bell for notifications, and I'll check you next time.